Okay, life science. I'm probably not going to be here Thursday or Friday, so to fill you in, since I didn't get to see you due to dodgeball yesterday, um, I came down with influenza over the weekend. My house flooded. My daughter is sick right now. She also had influenza. My husband is sick today. I actually ran up Tamiflu during lunch to him, and now I'm getting sick again. I taught with a fever from fourth hour on, and my cough is getting worse, and I can't stand for more than 5 minutes without keeling over. So I'm just going to take Thursday and Friday off, which means I'm not going to see you at all this week, which is really sad and depressing. So I'm going to videotape this lecture, and the game plan is you're going to watch this lecture, and then you're going to get a 6.3 packet to work on. And I try to keep it very straightforward, like no short answers, just like match in, fill in the blank, because you're going to correct it in class on Friday. So you need to make sure you have it done before you come to class. Okay, there's not going to be this, oh, I didn't finish, or I forgot it at home. No, you're just going to mark it wrong. Okay, so get it done before class. But like I said, there's no short answer. So it should be relatively a breeze if you pay attention to the vocab in your book. All right, so getting started here. 6.3 is talking about the evidence for evolution. And so the thing I want to emphasize is that, evolution is not a straight line with one species that replaces another species, and it doesn't happen in an orderly step. There are a lot of living species that are close related, that do share a common ancestor, and how closely related those two species are depends on when they split or diverged from their common ancestor. So I guess I should have mentioned before. I hope you have your active notes out and that you're writing these down. Oh my gosh, I'm out of it today. All right. So this is not your family tree, okay? You don't go great grandfather, grandfather, father, you. This is your family tree, okay? A little bit more clustered, a little bit more messy. You have great grandparents, and you have second cousins, and you have your grandparents and their cousins, sorry, these would be your cousins. Then your parents, and that's your siblings, okay? So this is your family tree. You can see it's not a nice linear step. This is not evolution. Oh, a fish became a salamander and turned into a cat, which turned into you. No, this is evolution, where it branched off, here's our common ancestors. Maybe we're looking at vertebrates, animals with backbones. All of these animals have backbones. Here, we have another branch off, four-legged vertebrates. You notice these guys don't have any limbs, really, like four-legged limbs. So we have amphibians and mammals and humans. We all have four. I know we don't have 4 legs, but we do have 4 limbs. And then we have a branch off here of common ancestor of mammals, because amphibians have different characteristics than mammals. Okay, so some evidence for evolution is comparative anatomy, studying the similarities and differences among structures of living species. So we're going to compare the anatomy of organisms as well as their differences. And so some terms that go underneath comparative anatomy is called homologous structures, where the body parts of organisms that are similar in structure and position, but they differ in function. So I want to take a look at a seal, a wing of a bird, the wing of a bat, forelimb of a horse, and a human arm for grasping. And if you were to look at their bones and compare them to each other, you would see that we share similar bones. We all have phalanges. We all have metacarpals. We all have carpals. We have a radius and an ulna and a humerus. Okay, so we share parts that are similar in structure and position, but there's this key word here, but they differ, I should say, in function. So seals, they use their limbs to swim, and wings of a bird and a bat to fly, and a horse primarily to run. And a human arm, well, our fingers are unique. We can use it to grasp objects and make tools. And so homologous structures suggest that at one point we are related, like we share a common ancestor, and the more similar these two structures are, more likely, we share that common ancestor, which I just already said. Okay, so here's another diagram showing branching out just a little bit more, looking at a pterodactyl limb, okay, and just breaking it down into the 5 bones, and then noticing that there are slight differences, but a lot of similarities. Okay, another term that goes underneath comparative anatomy is analogous structures, body parts that perform a similar function, but they differ in structure. So it's a little bit opposite, actually it's opposite of homologous. So insect wings and bat wings, they both fly, but their structure is completely different because insect wings are made of chitin and they're clear mostly and transparent. While bat wings, you got muscle and bone and blood. So, same function, flight, differ in structure. Excuse me. So, to recap, homologous, similar structure, which means similar origin. They share common ancestor, different function. Analogous, similar function, different origin, different structure. One more just to recap. Here we have homologous structure or homology, and this would be analogous or analogy. All right. Vestigial structures, body parts that have lost their original function through evolution. So body parts that, I don't want to say they're useless, we just really don't use them anymore. So the human appendix, okay, is considered a vestigial structure. By the way, humans have a lot of vestigial structures. If you go to Google and you type in human vestigial structures, you are going to get a whole bunch of structures that we really don't use anymore. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Why not, right? Vestigial structures in humans. Let's get a quick recap here. What do we got? All right, wisdom teeth. Oh gosh, that's a great one. Okay, I got mine out a couple years ago. It was miserable. The appendix. Why do we have body hair? It doesn't keep us warm. Darwin's point on the ear. So, or ear muscles. Like my grandpa, he could wiggle his ears like alfalfa. Okay, what I mean like wiggle, I mean like flap them towards you. I wish you could see what I was doing right now. Actually, I'm kind of glad the camera's not on me. But I'm like trying to flap my ears and it's not working. Flap your ears like Dumbo, okay? Tonsils, you can get them removed and you're fine. Why do males have nipples? You don't produce milk, okay? The coccyx, which is your tailbone. Why do we have a tailbone? Maybe because our common ancestors had a tail. I don't know, okay? So, humans have a lot of them. Ostrich wings. Okay, ostriches don't fly. They got these powerful limbs, these legs that they run on, but their wings are small and reduced. They can't fly. Okay, pelvic bone in snakes, in hind limbs in snakes. Believe it or not, there's some species of snakes that have pelvic bone or hind limbs, which suggests at one time maybe they did have limbs. Okay, however, I did read up. I still remember this from my college professor. He said that boa constrictors tend to use their pelvic bone to help grasp the female firmly during copulation. And if you don't know what copulation is, well then you better look that one up. Whales. Whales have remains of a pelvic bone. You can see that right here. So whales, maybe at one point they did have limbs. Okay, developmental biology, also known as embryology. Looking at the development of embryos from fertilization to birth. So all species of vertebrates, animals with backbones, that's what vertebrates means, have pharyngeal pouches at some stage during their development. However, these pouches, they do turn into different structures later on in development, but because they're all present in the early stages of embryo development, it suggests that they do share a common ancestor. So, don't believe me? Okay, so here's a really blurry picture. Why am I not zoomed in? Sorry, guys. So, lizard, tortoise, pig, and human. Still blurry. But these little slits right here, and here, and here, and here are pharyngeal pouches. And you can see that they're still present, they're still present, they're still present, they're still present. But they turn into different parts for the organism. So I know for a fact that our pharyngeal pouches actually turn into like eustachian tubes. I don't remember what it turns in for pigs or tortoise or lizards, and I think it's listed in your book, so I would read up on that. Actually, you were supposed to read that yesterday with Mr. Dinnerman. We also have molecular biology, looking at gene structure and function, basically comparing genes from one organism to another. And we like molecular biology because it shows us just how common we are to other species in our genomes or in our DNA. So if we look at our genome and compare it to these animals right here, chimpanzees, we share 99.5% of the same of DNA or genome with chimps. With mouse, it's 88. With chicken, it's 75. And with fruit fly, it's 60. So just based on molecular biology, if there was a question that says, which animal are we more closely related? Then you would say, okay, we're more closely related to a chimp than we are to a fruit fly based on genome. That's all it's saying. Okay, I'm not saying we came from chimps. I'm just saying that we share a lot of similarities with each other, which means that we probably share a common ancestor with each other. So when we compare sequences, the more closely related species are, the more similar their genes or proteins are. So here's a great example looking at a gene that produces vitamin C. Now, in other non-human mammals, other non-human mammals can produce vitamin C. They don't need it in their diet, okay? Humans, on the other hand, have had ancestors that have been eating fruit for so long, which is high in vitamin C, that our vitamin C's got mutated, and we can no longer make vitamin C on our own. We do, however, still possess the remain of that gene inside of our genome. So in most mammals, it's shut off, but not in primates. Okay. All right, divergence. So some stretches of DNA are common to many species, and they can change through time at a steady, predictable rate, kind of like a molecular clock. And then we can just use this clock to estimate the time when they diverged from each other. So they were, I think your book mentions amino acids, cytochrome C evolution. And you can see that, we have 0 differences with chimpanzees, but 1 with rhesus monkeys, and 9 differences in rabbits, and so on and so forth. So based on this evidence, and just based on cytochrome C, you could say, all right, we diverged from yeast a really long time ago compared to, a rhesus monkey or a chimpanzee, because there are a lower number of differences. That's all that's saying. Okay, so we have these questions, but I don't need you to do them, okay? You're going to do the packet, so we are done with that. And I think that's the section. Okay, so you are going to need a 6.3 packet from your sub, and you are to work on that the rest of the hour. It is due tomorrow. You will correct it in class. So that means on Friday, you're just going to correct this packet, and I'm going to move the review guide back to Monday. We will correct it on Monday, and we're looking at a test Tuesday.